Fantastic. Hi, Torie.
Hello, can you hear me okay? My audio
Hearing
is good.
perfect, perfect.
Great. Nice to see you.
You as well. You as well. I know we got to talk on the phone a little over a week ago before meeting in person here. So, I just want to jump right in and have you, I think audience knows why I'm here, and I want them to know who you are and what you do and who you help.
Okay. So my name is Torie Henderson. I'm a life coach for stressed out mamas. My website is called Life Coaching for Parents. I have a podcast called Supermom is Getting Tired. But I've been doing this for like 15 years. Before that, I was a classroom teacher. I did parent education, and which I basically would read a parenting book and then teach it to a group of people. Like, you guys could just read the book yourselves. Um, but I noticed with myself that I would read the parenting book and I would implement these tools and tricks, and it would last about 5 days.
Mm,
And then I would go right back to what I was doing before. And there was something missing. It was like talked about like screen time and how bad it is for kids' brains. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be locked down on the screen time. And I wasn't able to create sustainable change. And so when I found life coaching, I was like, aha, this is the missing ingredient. This is the mindset changes that, like, why am I so stressed? Why am I so tired all the time? Why is parenting so much harder for me? Because I had all the intellectual knowledge. I had my background, I was a teacher. I had background, my whole experience is working with kids. I knew everything there was to know intellectually. And yet I was depleted and burned out and exhausted. I didn't understand why. So that's kind of how I came into life coaching. And then how I came into some more somatic coaching and integrating the body into this work was, so I went through the life coach training and I understood the power of mind management and the power of your thoughts. And definitely there was a lot of stressful thinking going on inside my brain. I had a lot of perfectionism. I had a very mean inner critic. There was not a lot of grace going on inside of my head to allow myself to make mistakes and just shrug it off. And oh well, next time you'll do better. Like I'm very kind to everybody except for myself, right? So the thought work was super powerful. But so is our minds. Our minds are very powerful. It's so when I went through master coach training, I think I was at the point probably where you are now,
okay.
where I would write all my thoughts out, do a thought download, and I'm like, I'm good. Like, everything I'm thinking and saying is positive and helpful and kind and generous. But my body was still, I have a magic body where my body will just always sending me signals, like always trying to get my attention, like, something's not right. Like, I get like mind body syndrome. Like, I've always had like pain and kind of chronic pain and just minor, IBS or eczema or little signs of stress always showed up as a physical manifestation in my body. I've had a job where I got sick once a month, like every month, like clockwork. Nobody else in my family would get it, just me. So like it's like my body lets me know that this isn't good for me. I'm off of my life path and this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. So I've always had this relationship with my body that has been extremely communicative. So when I went through master coach training, I was like, okay, I need some help because my mind is no longer stressed, but my body is showing signs of stress still. And I ended up, my teacher, Brooke Castillo, she ended up coaching me on my dreams because she had to bypass my conscious brain and get into my subconscious. So I started recording my dreams so that she could have something to coach me on because otherwise I didn't have anything to coach myself on, right?
Yeah.
So that was one method, was to get underneath into the subconscious beliefs. And then the other method was to listen to the body and
Mm,
start paying attention to the signals and the signs that are more subtle rather than waiting until I was depleted and exhausted and burned out, how can I listen to the minor signs and the communication that was happening on a daily basis that I had just ignored because I didn't know how to listen and I
Okay.
hadn't learned that skill set.
Neat. Would you describe, like what you just described, is that, do you think what some people call intuition?
I believe intuition comes through the body.
Okay.
And I think most of us aren't taught how to listen
Yeah.
to that intuition. And so I think it's very easy to override intuition. And in my work, probably the biggest block to accessing your intuition is fear,
Mm.
because fear is so loud and it doesn't go, it's hard to ignore. It's in your brain, it's constantly running the stream. But I have I've worked with a lot of clients who think that their fear is their intuition.
Mm. Interesting.
So, like, I'm scared to send my kid to school because there might be a shooting, for example, is a very loud,
Mm.
hard to ignore, scary, dramatic thought that our brain likes to latch onto. And a lot of moms will think like, is that my gut instinct? Is that my intuition telling me I shouldn't send my kid to school that day?
Interesting. Yeah.
But what I've learned about intuition is it's very quiet, very easy to ignore and override. And oh, that's weird. And the other thing is there's no thought, you can't track the thought stream. So if it's a fearful thought, you could be like, oh, I watched that on the news. I had a conversation with my friend, and you can trace back where you got to this now belief that, there's going to be a school shooting today, where with intuition, it comes out of the blue. You're
Interesting.
like, oh, that's weird. I wasn't even thinking about school shootings. Um, or it's just like
Fascinating.
nowhere on your radar.
Okay.
And so I just think I like people to know this because so many moms, especially we want to have access to our intuition. We want to use it to keep our kids safe.
Sure.
Oh, and the other thing is intuition only works in the present moment. Like
Mm.
you can't say like, I'm scared to go to send my kid on her senior trip, because of what might happen. That's not intuition.
Okay.
Your intuition only works right now in the present moment or within like 24 hours. I would say would be the maximum
Okay.
time frame.
Oh, that's really fascinating. I never heard it explained quite the way that you did. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to
Really.
watch out for that. You don't want to misuse the
Yeah.
fear signals. Yeah.
Okay. So when you define somatic to somebody, like that you do somatic work, that, that word and integration are kind of like new words in my vocabulary. So how do you explain to somebody what that is?
To
It's
me,
not.
it's simple. It just means in the body.
Okay.
It's kind of like I remember trying to define like worry versus anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if everybody has the same definition, but to me, like worry is mental processing, and anxiety is when your body joins on board. So and people would say, oh, but when every time I worry, my body joins on board, whatever. But to me, it's just sometimes it's helpful because it's like anxiety is when the heart rate goes up, your pulse goes up, like you start, your blood flow goes to your limbs, at least your stomach. So it might cause things like irritable bowel syndrome, or you might clench your jaw, or, it starts to have the physical manifestations. So for me, somatic just means body.
Okay.
And it just means what's happening in the body. And instead of going from the top down, can we learn from the bottom up?
Hmm. Okay.
Because our little noggins are so powerful and we can steer it in all these directions,
Oh
but
yeah.
there's still a lot of
Good.
wisdom coming from the body.
Yeah. I've gotten very, very good, I think, at coaching myself out of feeling, if that makes sense. Like I'm so good at, and I'm very kind to myself. I'm so good at, if I start to feel a strong emotion, I'm just like, oh, it's okay, baby girl, and I'm so sorry, and everything's, you're going to get through this. And I sound very kind and comforting and loving. And then it just goes back down. And then I just know that, like, because I've had some experiences where it's like, okay, well, now you have no control. This is coming out and you just have to deal with it. And those were a little bit scary. And so I know that I'm kind of like holding it in. And I can envision myself even kind of in my mind's eye processing in different ways. Like there's certain times where I just want to scream or punch something, but I don't. I like coach myself and I calm myself down and I'm like all peaceful. It's so funny. And I can see myself doing it. And yeah, that's why I'm just so grateful to work with you and everybody else who's joined me on this journey, because I really don't know exactly like what to do. So
Yeah.
I would love.
And just like no one teaches us like management, no one teaches us about our intuition. Nobody teaches us how to process these emotions and how to move it through.
Okay.
Yeah. Without having to like punch people.
I haven't wanted to punch any people yet, but I just wanted
or cry in public, or like it's just sort of nice to be able to control that and like let it out when you want to, and be able to not have it sneak up. And you want to be in control of it, not letting it be in control of you. I think that's
and I've had a couple of those experiences where it was like I was pretty out of control. I didn't feel like I could control it, and I just had to like ride it out. So yeah, I would love to start. Like, how do you start? I mean, I know you kind of know a little bit about my story, but how do you let's see how you go start a session?
Yeah. So and last time we talked, that was kind of what I was looking for, is sort of like, where is the entry point there? Right. Because like you're saying, I've got this very powerful mind and I've got this wall of resistance to feeling the feelings. So what you and I talked about that I think is a good entry point is, I think I asked you, like, what is the fear? Like, what are you afraid might happen during the somatic sessions when you access your emotions? Like, what is it that you're afraid of? And I'll ask you that today and see if it's the same as what you said last time.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I don't even remember what I said last time, so I'll just answer in real time. I think, like the only things that are coming to mind, I'm afraid of like the unknown. I'm afraid of a feeling that I haven't felt before, that I feel like this is too new, this is too much, I don't know if I can handle it. And it's weird because I've had experiences like that with like quote unquote good emotions too. Like I've learned I had like a ceiling as to how much pleasure and bliss and euphoria I can handle before I go, whoa, that's enough of that. So I think that scares me on both ends, actually, which, is kind of wild. And when I think about whether, it's a quote unquote good feeling or bad feeling, there's a sense of lack of control. So there's definitely some sort of control issue popping up there. And then there's like this sense of, I think I cling to an identity of being someone who holds it together. I'm very mature. I'm very like, I don't lose my cool. I don't freak out.
Okay.
That feels
so you're here now. So I'm going to ask you because this is the whole point of the question, is to bring it up.
Okay.
So now, instead of talking about it, I want you to go into your body, which closing the eyes just helps you disconnect your brain, helps you bring your awareness into the body, and just notice what part of your body has been activated when you start talking about losing control, the unknown. Where in your body do you feel that?
It's almost, oh my gosh, now that I'm just in my body, it's almost like it's hard to pinpoint. I can feel it I can feel it almost everywhere, like adrenaline. Like I can feel my arms are tingling. I can feel a little bit of like a tightness coming down on my throat. And I can feel like a little bit of like, butterfly in my stomach.
Okay.
And I'm
Great.
sitting, I'm
Excellent.
sitting, yeah, with my legs crossed. So if my legs were down, I would probably even feel that flow all the way to my feet.
So
Yeah.
I'll ask you to uncross your legs
Okay.
and then take 3 deep breaths while keeping your attention on this adrenaline feeling throughout the body. So you want to think about a long, slow exhale and notice that adrenaline feeling and how it's kind of spread that. Would you say it's tingly? Is it like soda pop bubbles? Is it uh, like static electricity? How would you describe it?
It's definitely like more like static electricity, not
Okay.
bubbles, not bubbles. It's like a zing. That's the I don't know why that word's coming to mind. It's zingy. And
Mhm.
it's like I feel very like I want to like it feels like fight or flight and I want to flight. Like
Great.
I'm antsy
Okay.
and I want to go.
And that's why we're going to keep our breathing slow and calm.
Okay.
Because when you start going here, your brain goes into the fear response, right? And so what we're feeling is the fear, the resistance too. So we're just going to breathe in through your nose, out, and then see if you can make your exhale twice the length of your inhale. And then tell me what's happening in your stomach.
It's pretty clenched.
Okay. Do you still feel the butterfly feeling?
It feels a little bit more just kind of like upset now.
Okay. Like a little nauseous,
Hmm.
or just more like kind of a churning?
Yeah, more not so much nauseous, it's down lower than nausea. So more of a
Okay.
churning.
All right. Does it feel um heavy or like acidy or like like bubbling?
It's more steady heavy. Just like a
Very heavy.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. So just breathe. And I want you just to imagine widening out your stomach and making room for this heaviness to be there. Long, slow exhale. And you're just going to let your body do whatever it wants to do, but keeping your attention on this heaviness. See if you get an image. Does it feel like there's a heavy ball in there? Is it like a vessel, like a heavy cauldron? Is it like a wet blanket? What do you
Definitely
see?
feels round. So I would say ball, but
Okay.
not heavy like a bowling ball heavy, more like almost like a hollow heavy now.
Okay. Good. So just breathe. And we're just going to let it do whatever it wants to do. This heavy, hollow ball. What color is it?
Like kind of like swirly colors of black and dark purple and dark blue and dark green.
Mhm. Is the ball spinning and swirling, or is it
No,
staying
just something
still?
almost like there's like a static inside or a smoke inside or something.
Okay. We're just going to breathe and just keep your attention on it and see if you notice any changes as you're breathing and observing it.
Just feels a little lighter and lighter each time I breathe. Like maybe it started out hard like a bowling ball and now it's more like a balloon,
Mhm.
a little more flexible.
So now let's go up to the tight throat and tell me, is it still tight?
It is.
What's happening in your throat? Does it feel like there's something stuck in there? Does it feel like the walls are closing in?
It's like, yeah, it's like a grip around my windpipe.
Okay. Why don't you breathe and imagine widening out this area of your throat? You can see why your brain wants to go into fight or flight. If it feels like something's gripping your throat, that is a natural response, right? But your job is to breathe and tell your brain, I'm feeling it, but it's not actually happening. So we're unwiring the two responses. So feel that like grip, like something's pressing from the outside in, would you say? Okay.
It's already
And it's already looser. Okay. So when you think about losing control, this was an automatic fear response that your body has. Tell me more about what scares you about like doing somatic body work and feeling these feelings brings up a fear of losing control. Tell me more about what you're afraid of. What's the worst thing that would happen?
Well, even thinking back to the times where I did allow myself to feel to my kind of limit, that felt very overwhelming. Like I couldn't handle it
Mm-hmm.
too much. Um, and that if I let it go beyond that point, it would be almost like an out of control, out of body experience. Like I would have to completely surrender to feeling and my there's something inside of me that says no, don't do that.
Right. Okay. So what do you feel now as you're talking about it? Where in your body are you lighting up?
Mostly down in my gut, but not in the same way. Like that now it's just almost like a solid, like flat, like it's just resting, like whatever was round kind of flattened out and it's just heavily resting on my pelvic floor.
Okay. Okay. So I want you just to breathe and allow this heaviness to be there. So before it was the fight or flight response, the fear to listening to this fear. It's like a fear of listening to the fear of surrender. So we've got two different fears here.
Okay.
Make sense? One was like just a natural fear response. And now where it's like, oh my gosh, if I just let go, I might have an out of body experience. I'll lose my like grounding. I mean, I think that to me, this is very like grounding, this heavy pelvic floor is like, I need this.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to breathe again to reduce the fear of surrendering. Get a good picture of this flat, almost picture like a oval, solid, flat, heavy. Did you say oval or is that me making it up?
Well, I guess it's like it's like half.
Like a bowl.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a,
Okay. Sitting in the bowl of the pelvic floor. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So we're just going to breathe. I'm going to let it be. What color is this bowl?
Actually got a vision of it being clear,
Okay.
oddly enough. Like the color that those darker colors are gone.
Okay.
It's more like just
And
body. Yeah.
yeah. So what's this bowl? What's the material? What's it made out of if it's clear?
It's like flexible and malleable and like not like squishy like a sponge, but more like I'm almost picturing more like a hard, um, like like wax. You can indent it with your fingers, but not like push through. It's so
Interesting.
weird.
Okay. Need to say. Okay. You can tell we're not making this stuff up because it's not logical. Okay. So now I want you to take your hand, like your so that the palm of your hand is facing your lower abdomen. So you can put it like kind of near where this bowl is, about a foot away from your pelvis. Okay. So about 12 inches away. Get your
Oh, so
flat
don't
palm.
touch my pelvis, hold it about 12 inches away. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
So get your hand about 12 inches away from your body where this heavy bowl is.
Okay.
And so what I want, keep your eyes closed. And what I want you to do is I want you to imagine that you can pull
Hmm.
this heavy but malleable clear bowl out of your pelvic floor, and you're going to hold it in the palm of your hand. How does it feel to have it out of your body and in your hand?
Just feels like I mean, it's like, doesn't really bring anything up. It's just a thing.
Does it feel better to have it out of your body? Or does it feel, do you want to put it back in?
I kind of want to put it back in.
Okay. Good.
It was
So say it again.
it was like comfortable in there. I did get a sense of grounding from it. And
Okay.
now I feel like a little bit like, woo. Can we put that back on? Yeah.
So do we feel a little ungrounded?
Yeah, it almost feels like a little bit of a disconnect.
Okay. Maybe a little out of body.
Hmm.
Okay. So what I want you to know is this feeling is what you're afraid of.
Oh, interesting.
This is it. This feeling of surrender, being ungrounded, being out of control. And you say, it's really not that much different.
Yeah, it's
I
not
just prefer.
scary. Yeah, I would just prefer to put it back.
So what
Wow.
I want you is to keep it in your hand. Do you feel your hand getting heavy?
Yeah, like I put my other hand underneath it,
Just automatically. Is that so funny?
like without even thinking. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay. So I want you just to breathe. I want you to scan your body and I want you to notice how it feels and just get used to it. Like, okay, I feel a little flighty, a little ungrounded, a little out of control, not in control of something. But it's okay. So the breathing is telling the brain this is nothing to be scared of. And now I'm going to think about putting this heavy bowl back into your body. But before we do, Sarah, I want you to think about if you'd like to modify it. Maybe you want to put it right back in the same place, or maybe you would like to spread it out, relocate it, lighten it. You can do whatever you want to do.
Interesting.
Like where in your body can you put it? And can you find a place in your body to put it where it can receive compassion?
Is it weird that now I do want to like hold it in my hands? Is it weird?
Oh,
Put it back? No, I don't
it's
want.
not weird. Okay. So I want you to do this. Keep it in your hands,
Yeah.
scan your body, and tell me when you think about putting it back in your body, where in your body do you feel no resistance?
No resistance?
Like you feel a resistance, you feel like a no, like I don't want that back
Oh,
in, like a pushing away or a clenching or a tightening or a
yeah. Pretty much everywhere except my pelvis. Like I sort of scanned my body and I was like, legs, do you want it? And they were like, no. My feet, I was like, feet, will you hold it? And it's like, no. but it will, I could very easily just stick it right back where it came from.
Okay. Do you want it back in your pelvis?
I mean, it didn't feel bad. I did kind of like now it feels like a little bit exposed, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, well, you've
yeah,
changed. You are a totally different person in the last 30 seconds. Okay, so let's bring it up to present time. You've had it out of your body for 2 minutes. You're not afraid now to live without it. So now you get a choice. Do you prefer it to be in your body, or do you prefer it to be out of your body?
I feel like the right answer is like to leave it out.
There's no right answer.
Okay, so
Well, the right answer is coming from the body, not your brain.
okay,
So you want to go to your pelvis and say, pelvis, do you want it back in? And a yes feels maybe like an opening, and a no feels like a little bit of resistance,
yeah,
distancing,
it pretty much
tightening.
it pretty much like when I asked it, when I said, like right after you said that, and I really put my focus down on my pelvis, it my whole like pelvic floor relaxed and filled in the space where this was. So to me, that's a no. I don't need you in there anymore.
It's a no. Okay. So
Okay.
we're gonna lay this bowl down on the floor in front of you.
Okay.
Okay. And now we're gonna go to your filled in pelvic floor. So close your eyes again. Deep breath in. Go down to your pelvic floor. It's now filled in. Okay. But when you thought about putting it back in, you got almost like a fullness. Like a picture, I don't know, like tell me what you're picturing. I feel like the water tank is full. If you open the doors, water will spill out, or something like what did you see when you thought about putting it back in your body? Your pelvic floor was like, no, we're good.
Yeah.
What was that sensation? Did it feel like a wall going up, or a door
No,
closing, or
definitely it was a relaxation of the muscles. Like,
Mhm.
um, so like instead of the muscles being like tight like this, they relaxed and kind of filled in that space.
Mhm.
So I would say it felt like a whoosh. I don't know. It's not like fluid, like
So
slow.
when you think about putting that bowl back in, what
Mhm.
happens?
There's no room for it.
There's no room.
Yeah.
That's like just a fullness, a
Yeah.
relaxed fullness. There's no, it's like a, think of a shape sorter puzzle, like the shape doesn't
Yeah.
fit in the.
It's already full. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. All right. And so I want you to pick a color to represent compassion.
Yellow.
So I want you to imagine a bright golden yellow sun shining above the top of your head.
Mhm.
And imagine the sun coming down through the top of your head, filling your face. Oh, we hold so much tension in our face. Feel your muscles start to relax as this bright golden sun moves down through your neck, your shoulders. Have it fill your arms and hands. All those places where you had that static electricity are now just relaxed and soft and bathed in this golden light. Move that yellow light through your chest and your heart, down through your stomach, letting it coat where those butterflies used to be, and all that upsetness is just calm now and beautiful and soft. Moving down through into the pelvic floor, and just sort of like permeating through this now full, relaxed pelvic girdle, moving down your legs and into your feet. And when you look down at the floor where you placed that glass or that malleable clear bowl that was heavy, have you noticed any changes with it?
It's got the yellow in it. like
Mm,
filled with it's pretty.
nice. Does it seem like less heavy, or has it changed its texture, shape, or anything? Well, I guess it has if it's got light in it.
Yeah. Not not so much the texture or the shape, but just now that it's instead of just being clear, it's yellow. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. So you can open your eyes. So what did you think of all that? That was some people, I don't have a good name for it, but my clients call it weird.
Well, I think even at one point during the session, I was like, whoa, trippy, you know, it's like, which I guess would be similar to weird. But yeah, what's so fascinating to me is like you were saying, like you can't make this stuff up. The things that come to mind and the things that I see and the images that come into my brain, it's so fascinating. I'm like, where did that could come from? Yeah.
No, it's so wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what I like about this, Sarah, is that from my experience,
Yeah.
this is a one and done. This is why I'm willing to take the risk and do weird things with my clients, because it once it's gone, we're moving the energy out.
Yeah.
And so once it's out, it doesn't come back. It's more sustainable
Yeah.
and without having to do any work. Like it's really magical. So it saves a lot of time and money, which
Okay.
people tend to like.
Yeah. I'm so
You just have to tolerate a little weirdness and you have to surrender and kind of go with it, like you were so wonderful at doing. You know, it doesn't make logical sense. Like I can picture rainbow colored cats falling from the sky, but I can't picture this bowl leaving my body. Like it's gonna stay. You know,
right.
it's doesn't make sense, but it it's extremely effective.
Wow. So with everything that you just said, I'm trying to wrap my brain around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How would that, so would you say for a session like this, that kind of like energy, would you say that it's not even really necessary to integrate after a session like that because it just is like you don't have to.
That is integration. Yeah, for sure. Like what I should have done is ask you in the beginning, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how big is your fear of losing control?
Mhm.
Because now I could ask you, like, where would you say you are when like you think about losing control? How scared are you?
Yeah, I'm more a little bit more just like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. Not full on like let's go baby, I'm in, but I'm definitely, if I were probably, and I would say before, solid like 9, possibly 9.5. I mean, I almost want to say 10 because it's
Wow.
very strong. It was like a
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
fast. No, I know where my ceiling is, and we're not going past it. To, I would say now, much more in the middle, like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah. What we did is two things. One, going into the body,
Mm.
right? The resistance you had to doing the somatic work and where that was going to lead.
Yeah.
And once we moved that out of the way, and that's where when people get it and it's all over sensation. It's here, it's there. So you stay with it, you breathe, you describe it, and then you see what sticks and what goes away.
Okay.
So for you, you know, the adrenaline, static electricity feeling that was gone.
Yeah.
The purple bowling ball, not bowling ball, the purple ball, swirly black, that moved out
Yeah.
on its own. We didn't have to do any work.
Yeah.
But the one that stayed was
Mm.
the tight throat.
Okay.
So that, to me, that's why we kind of went with that one.
Hmm.
And then that we moved that one out, and then we moved down to like, okay, well, where is it? And now it's that pelvic floor, you know, because I had you kind of talk a little bit more about like, okay, surrendering. Like,
Yeah.
why is that?
Yeah.
And you know, we know intellectually surrender's a good thing for us.
Mm.
Control is an illusion. It feels damn good and we love our illusion, but it's always an illusion, right? Like we don't have control. So the truth is more aligned with the notion of surrendering, because like, who knows? It's gonna happen today, tomorrow.
Yeah,
You
and
never know.
it's so fascinating though. Like my brain is so on board with that, with a lot of things, like accepting what is and not arguing with reality. But I still feel like I'm like, I have control over this. I will not let myself go past a certain point. It's so interesting, even though, on some level, I'm like, yes, I want to. Like, I know I'm safe. I know, like you said, it doesn't really make, I'm going to be okay. And yet, man, I hit a certain level of resistance. And maybe it's different for everybody. Some people, maybe it's here, some way up here, and some through the roof. But I definitely have it.
Well, and I
Definitely.
think that, that bowl that was like right in the pelvic girdle there,
Yeah.
that so you could have kept it because it was so familiar. Like you said, it's your identity. It's like, I'm in control, I'm grounded, like I'm not floating away, right? And so you're like, I could keep it and it'd feel like me. But when you could live with it, so 90 seconds is the key. The emotions are, we can only, so emotions is literally means energy in motion. It's meant to move through us, right?
Ooh,
Our brains can only keep an emotion for 90 seconds. Remind yourself that next time you're, crying in the grocery store or whatever. Like, if I can give it full attention
okay.
and let my brain, so the questions I'm asking about, like, what color, texture, you can ask, what sound does it make? What's the shape? Is there movement? None of them matter. It's all just keeping your brain on it.
Oh, I love the way you said that. None of that actually matters, right? Because I know my brain's like, what's the right answer? What am I supposed to say here? It's like,
Nope, it does not matter. The
it just
problem is our brains get bored and we're going to wander onto other things.
so
But if
good.
someone's asking you, what's the texture? Like, whoa, hold on, let me look. I don't know. Like, is it making a sound? And you're tripping yourself out with your own answers, right?
Yeah.
And it's enough engagement of your brain to keep it for 90 seconds. And
Mm.
then it will move through, just like that swirly black ball, just sort of like, okay, now it's gone.
Okay.
That's how you feel a feeling,
Wow.
beginning, middle, and end, and then it moves through you.
Okay.
When we resist an
Mhm.
emotion and try not to feel it, it can last a lifetime.
Wow. Okay. It's going to take me a minute to like process that. I'm going to
Think
definitely,
about like dogs, like
yeah.
they experience a trauma, they
Mhm.
shake it off, they're really distraught.
Right. Well, I had horses. Yeah. So they would like, fight or flight. And they would almost always flight. And then, yeah, they're done. And then they blow it out. They're done, the adrenalines, and they shake it off. And then they're back to eating grass. Same
Right.
thing.
If you think of the other animals, or even like kids throwing a temper tantrum, and if we we can recreate it with our minds, we
Okay.
can retell the same sad story over and over again. But I really wanted that cookie. It's not fair. How come I don't get what I want? We can recreate it with our minds. But if it's
Sure.
just we're just talking about emotion,
Yeah.
90 seconds and it moves through.
Wow. I think that when people hear that and truly understand that, it makes it so much less scary.
Because everybody, I think, has this like vault of their emotions that they do not want to open. It's like, I don't want to open that can of worms. I don't
Right.
want to go there. And
Yeah.
that's the first thing I said when you were like, is there anything you want people to know? I
Yeah.
said that it's not scary. It doesn't have to be scary. It's weird. It's not
Yeah.
scary.
Okay. It's weird and it only lasts 90 seconds. Let it be
Yeah.
weird. Go with the flow.
Mhm.
I'm hearing all the,
Right. And
okay.
there's a lot of people who've had like trauma in their body.
Yeah.
and their coping mechanism has been to operate in the head
Yeah.
only. And so sometimes you need to be extra gentle. And like you could say, we're just going to go in real quick and then come back out. And like we have to get the brain on board.
Right.
So like,
Okay.
like, okay, we're just going to 1 second and
Yeah.
then out. And we can slowly build our way up to 90 seconds.
Yeah. So if let's say like I've gone from a 10 to a 4 in not being so afraid of, surrendering and losing control. Does it, like, when you're in between sessions, or you're not working with someone and you're like they're at home kind of trying to practice this on their own. So let's say like later on tonight before I go to bed or something, I feel like a wave of, grief or some sort of emotion coming on. How do you sort of like kind of in your mind go through sort of that same process?
I do.
You
I
just do
do.
it.
What am I feeling? And not how am I feeling,
Yeah.
but what am I feeling and where am I feeling it?
Yeah, that seems like such a small thing, what versus how, but it's such a big difference, right? Because how gets me
Mhm.
back in my thinking brain, and then I want to describe it, and then I want to think about why and all of that, versus what just,
Texture,
yeah,
color,
okay,
sound, location,
yeah,
heaviness. Sometimes you can say like yeah, movement, um,
hmm,
just descriptors.
yeah,
You know that saying like I was beside myself?
yeah,
Like that happens like when you're with anxiety, with resisting emotions, where it feels like you're literally beside yourself. Like my body's over here, I'm over here. That is not a good feeling. We want to avoid, but it's a helpful in trauma, in on the battlefield, during times of abuse. You want to learn how to become beside yourself. That's a great skill.
yeah,
So sometimes we have to like kind of look around. Like I like to do like name 5 things I see in front of me.
yeah,
So you're talking about like going to bed at night and you're feeling like something's coming bubbling up. And you say, okay, I'm going to name 5 things I see. I see a water glass, I see a computer, I see a pen, a paper, and a phone.
yeah.
Am I in any immediate danger? If the answer is no, then you can go 90 seconds, feel a feeling, color, texture.
Okay, so it's not about, because I'm already sitting here thinking about how, ooh, all these tools I feel like I'm learning, it'll help me actually avoid the feeling, but it's not that, right? I'm not talking myself out of it. I'm opening up to the 90 seconds. So gosh, I'm so curious now, like what would that look like instead of sobbing or trying not to sob for, an hour?
Yeah. So instead of the sobbing, which if you're like me, it's combined with resistance.
Yeah.
I'm sobbing and trying not to sob. Like, you know, it's like I'm sobbing and I don't want to be sobbing.
Yeah.
Instead, because the sobbing is it's a helpful release. It's like venting, right? You're getting it out. I would say time it. I'm gonna 90 seconds, I'm gonna sob. And then the timer's gonna go off and I'm gonna go into my body.
Okay, and do the what again?
And I'm
What
gonna
are
say, what does my body want to say?
interesting.
And what does my body feel? And maybe it feels tired. Maybe that was it. That's all it needed.
What does my body say? Interesting. Okay, I love this question. Because that's what I want. I want like wisdom from my body, to be, I have
Yeah.
so much wisdom in my brain. I want wisdom from my body.
So I'm gonna teach you one more thing since I have
Okay.
you. Okay. And because you have the fear of getting swept away
Hmm.
and losing control. And like, a lot of people have that, like that if I allowed myself to open this can of worms that's been there for 50 years, whatever, I've been trying not to feel feelings, then it's just going to like overtake me, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a really common fear. So the 90 seconds thing is really helpful to know that intellectually. That's all it takes, 90 seconds. But there is another way when you're like, okay, I'm tired of sobbing and I don't want to, I'm tired of feeling. And, so the golden sunshine or the light is one way to do that, to shift now. Okay, we felt the feelings, we know where it is, we moved it through us. Now we're going to bring in a light that represents compassion, because that's what we need when we're sobbing and carried away by emotions, right? We need compassion. So finishing off with the light is very helpful. But there's one other thing you can do. If you feel like I am drowning in my own emotions, okay, is I want you to pick, do you have oh, it's dark outside probably where you are, because you have a window outside. So I want you to pick an object in your room to look at. So tell me what you're going to stare at an object for 90 seconds. What object are you going to choose?
It's my, I have a little horse stuffed animal that I've had since I was 14. It's sitting on my bed.
Okay. So now you're going to describe it for 90 seconds in the same way you described the emotion inside the body, with color, texture, movement, weight. So describe your horse.
Oh, that's so fun. Okay. He's like about two feet long by maybe 1.5 feet tall, very floppy. Like there's no bones, it's just stuffing and material. And he's a light brown, but with a dark brown yarn, little mane and forelock, and little dark brown hooves on all four legs. And his eyes are kind of like droopy, kind of like sad, droopy eyes. So there's like white underneath the black pupil of his eyes, and his ears are really small. And he's like the perfect size. He just fits right in the crook of your arm if you want to spoon him while you're sleeping. So comforting.
Okay. And that's about 90 seconds, right? So it's basically the same thing. You're just doing it with internally and then externally. And you can go back and forth, but
Fun.
it's
Okay.
it's that illusion of control that we crave, right?
Yeah.
Like I can control my mind, I can control my emotions. It feels so good. And it gets you back into grounded reality, and
Yeah.
and especially when it's something that's like right in front of you and you're like, hey, this is actually 3-dimensional, like right
Yeah.
here.
Okay.
But
I can think of a couple times when that would have come in really handy, when I sort of really overtaken emotion, like in a public place. So it would have been nice
that's what I can tell you. I've described like toilet paper rolls so many times. Like I'm sitting in a public restroom and I'm like describing the toilet paper roll, and it's because I don't want to go into my emotions at that point in time.
Yeah.
So you do the 90 seconds, you do the golden sunshine or the compassion light, whatever you bit to pick, and then 90 seconds of describing an object in the room.
Okay. What a simple and yet effective tool. And there's 90 seconds is nothing. Nobody can say, I don't want to hear, like, I don't have time for that.
Right.
90 seconds.
Right.
I mean, it went by so fast. I was like, wanted to keep going and tell you all about
well, and we did, like we kind of came back out, right? Then we went, once you got rid of the fears, then we went back in. And so you can come out and come back in, but it's just, as far as like just describing that feeling, it only takes 90 seconds to process it, move it through.
Okay. I guess my last question would be, what about the times like when, like, do you recommend having times when you do purposefully, like even schedule, like, okay, I'm home alone tonight, my kids aren't here, I don't have to get up early, bring it on, body and emotions, I'm ready, like I want to do this thing, like, can you do that?
Okay, well, of course, You can, one does, right? So, because if we go back to what we talked about at the beginning, where our minds are very powerful and we can talk ourselves out of emotions. One of the tricks that I started doing that I recommend to a few other clients who are in the similar boat is I would ask myself every morning, what am I avoiding? And that could mean, what am I avoiding thinking about? What am I avoiding feeling? Or what am I avoiding doing? And it could be a conversation I need to have, or it could be, exercise, or, then you can kind of like, why am I avoiding it? What is the feeling that I think it's going to bring up for me?
Yep.
And then can I practice that feeling right now?
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. So already I can see like exactly my brain answered that immediately. Okay. So you can set a time, specific time. I can tell it would immediately come up for me. And then you can gently explore. Because I can even tell now, even if I did it after we hung up and I gave myself some time to sort of dip into that feeling, I don't even know if I'm right about that. I don't think I would go full on into it, but I could at least, okay, we can just dip into it for 90 seconds.
When you're in that state of like, oh God, I really don't want to go there, whatever, put a timer on your phone and be like, okay, well, I'll go in for 90 seconds, breathe, describe texture, color, all that. And then timer goes off and you're like, okay. Then you bring in a light above your head, have it permeate through that area of your body
Okay.
as well as surround it. And it's like giving it some love, like giving it, you're so good. You're doing that like with yourself, your heart, giving yourself compassion. This is actually giving the compassion to the body and the energy within the body.
Yeah. Okay. That's so cool. All right. All right. Okay. My brain, I think, is full like of so
Yes.
much goodness right now that yes, I want to like integrate everything that we did today. Thank you so much. I can't
You are
wait.
very welcome. And I want to leave you with one thing. And for everyone who's listening and like was trying this, it's like sometimes after an exercise like this,
Yeah.
you will feel flatlined,
Mhm.
exhausted because you've been resisting this all for a long time, right? And when you can finally go there and release that energy, you might feel like wiped out for the rest of the day. And so I just want everybody to know that's super normal. It's a healthy sign. We want to try to indulge that rest and relaxation as much as possible. Drink water, all those like good self-care stuff. But like if you are tired, then like please indulge it, rest it. It's not a bad thing. It's just that you've been holding on to it for so long. It's like holding on to a very heavy weight that you finally let go of. And then all of a sudden you're like, feel like, wow, like I'm tired. Like you might not have known that you were carrying a heavy weight all this yourself.
Has anybody ever experienced the opposite where they actually feel like energized?
100%.
Times?
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I've only had a few uh, of these types of sessions. Most of the time, I feel pretty mellow. I can see like maybe feeling energized, but most of the time, yeah, I'm like, ooh, pretty tired. So, okay. And
It's a rebalancer. So if you normally feel energized and you're a go person, and then you feel relaxed or rested, then it's like it's going to rebalance you. If you've been feeling like down in the dumps and super heavy, then you might feel like light and lifted and energized because it's rebalancing.
awesome. I love it. Okay. Can you please, before we wrap up, can you please tell people, do you work with people? Are you taking clients?
Yes.
How does that work? One-to-one? How can they find you?
I do work one-on-one. I love my super moms, the moms who try really, really hard to do everything right and then get exhausted and overwhelmed and lost sometimes too. So yes, I do. I still like doing one-on-one
Fantastic.
coaching and I am available. So
Okay, great. And then do you like people to just find you on socials or website or what?
they can go to lifecoachingforparents.com and sign up for like a free discovery call. That's how I would do it. I don't usually do this on the free discovery call though, because it's a little too weird. I'd probably freak them out. But if they listen to this, then they know. Like,
I hope people see this and they go, okay, that's not as weird and freaky as I thought.
we exactly right. We got to normalize our like imagination and our bodies and our intuition and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I'll add to the episode late, after I've had time to sort of like process it and then even watch it back and think about it. I'll definitely add, so people can just kind of hear like what the experience, since we don't really talk about it in the session because I try to stay in client mode, but I do want to I'll share what the experience was like for me too.
I'd be curious, like in the next few days, like, how you're feeling afterwards. And see if you still notice that like fear of like losing control.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Torie, thank you, my friend. Mwah.
My pleasure. So good to see you and talk with you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.